Hey guys, in today's video I bring you a surprising and chilling story. Meet Sapphira Wrenwood, a young woman who, after a serious car accident, was transported to a plane beyond life and received a shocking revelation about the future of humanity. What she saw on the other side, involving extraterrestrial ships and imminent contact, will shake you. And the most incredible thing, she discovered that December 20th will change everything. Before we start, leave your like, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any impactful content like this. Get ready for a journey of revelations that will transform your vision of the future. The rain hit the car windows like an incessant drum. The drops of water ran down, illuminated by the yellow light from the streetlights on the deserted highway. My eyes, heavy as lead, struggled to stay open. I knew I shouldn't be driving. I had ignored clear signs from my body: dizziness, blurred vision, the almost suffocating feeling of exhaustion. Still, there I was, with shaking hands gripping the steering wheel. The last week had been a nightmare of long sleepless nights. Between the stacked books, final exams, and empty wine bottles, one part of me screamed for help, while the other insisted on continuing. I believed that success would somehow erase all my past pains. The childhood in the countryside, the emotional abuse, the loneliness. Maybe if I conquer something, I would finally have peace. The radio was off. The silence, added to the rhythmic sound of the rain, made me even more sleepy. I blinked hard, trying to focus on the front headlights, but suddenly the car skidded. It was an instant, like a movie that skips an important scene. A flash from the other side of the road, a long horn, and the world turned. "No!" I shouted, instinctively pulling the steering wheel. Everything happened in slow motion, the glass shattering like broken ice, the brutal impact of the car colliding. The force threw me forward, and then silence. A silence that did not belong to this world. My head lolled to the side, and the last thing I smelled was the smell of burning metal and oil. There was something wrong. I couldn't move. My leg felt non-existent. Am I dying? I thought. But the truth is that I wasn't afraid. The emptiness that followed was accompanied by an almost comforting lightness. "Girl, girl, do you hear me?" A distant female voice seemed to call out to me. I strained my eyes, which were now like leaden eyelids, and saw an indistinct shadow moving. It was a woman, kneeling beside me, holding my hand firmly. "It's going to be okay, hold on tight. Help is coming." Her voice trembled, but it carried an almost maternal determination. My body was there, but I wasn't. Somehow I realized I was leaving of myself. A calm took over, and my consciousness began to let go. I floated, soft as a feather in the wind. When I looked down, the shock hit me like a hammer. "It is me," I murmured, or thought. It was strange to have a voice without a mouth, an idea without a sound. But there I was, lying in the wrecked car, while the woman screamed at the paramedics who arrived with furious sirens. My invisible hands reached out to try to touch that scene. "Is this real?" I thought. And before I could look for an answer, I felt something warm behind me. A different energy, a presence that could not be explained in words. The scene below continued apace, paramedics checking vital signs, the storm gathering, flashlight light reflecting off the broken glass. I floated above it all, a disembodied witness. Imaginary tears flowed. I didn't know if it was from relief or fear. One thing, however, was certain: something had changed forever. When I realized I was floating, something strange hit me. There was no pain, no fear, just a feeling of peace so deep it seemed to fill every corner of my soul. I no longer had a body, and yet I felt more alive than ever. Down below, the chaos continued. The paramedics, drenched from the rain, tried to stabilize me. One of them shouted, "Pressure is dropping. We need to go now." That sentence should have alarmed me, but it didn't. It was as if I had been disconnected from the emotions that used to rule my life. I was just watching. The sound around me began to distort, like waves coming and going, until everything became quiet. It was at that moment that I saw the light. At first, it was a small, almost imperceptible spark, but it grew, expanding until it filled everything around me. It was a golden white light, vibrant and welcoming. It wasn't aggressive. It didn't hurt my eyes, although I wasn't sure if I still had them. It was as if that light was hugging me. Then they emerged, three tall, imposing, and at the same time soft beings. Angels. Not like those in church pictures, with delicate wings and sparkling halos. They were over 9 feet tall, made of the same light that dominated that space. It was almost impossible to look directly at them, like trying to look at the sun, and yet I could feel them, like they knew every part of me, even the secrets I kept from myself. One of the angels approached. His silhouette glowed even more intensely, and although he didn't speak, his voice echoed inside me. "Sapphira, you will not die. Your time has not yet come." My emotions, until then dormant, came like an avalanche. I wanted to scream, ask who they were, what was happening, but the angel's voice continued. "They are looking out for you. We shipped them." Confused, I looked down. My body was now inside a hospital, being rushed through bright corridors. Doctors and nurses ran around me, and machines beeped in warning. It was then that I realized something extraordinary. The angels were beside them. Every doctor, every nurse, had a subtle thread of light connecting to the angels, as if they were divine instruments. The surgeons' hands glowed faintly, and as they moved their instruments, I felt the light of angels guiding them. But my back is broken. I can't go back like this. I thought more to myself than to them. The angel in front of me tilted his head of light. His voice returned, sweet and serene. "You will not only get back, but you will walk again. And one day, you will run. This is part of the plan, and its mission has not yet been accomplished." A wave of heat passed through my being, as if an electric current was coursing through every particle of me. It was healing. I could feel it. Energy, love, something that human words could never describe. "Why? Why me?" I whispered, now crying, or feeling the emotion equivalent to tears. "Because you chose this before coming. Your purpose is greater than you imagine. And now, you need to remember, love is all that matters." Hearing that, a knot formed inside me. The pains of my life, the childhood abuse, the depression, the self-destruction, everything seemed so small compared to the love that now enveloped me. How could I forget something so simple? Before I could respond, I was pulled away again. The light around me began to change, as if the scene was being undone. A new energy began to envelop me, and in the blink of an eye, I left the hospital and the angels behind. What came next was something I never imagined. The cosmic space. The light surrounding me began to dissipate, as if I was slowly being thrown out of it. The gentle warmth gave way to a feeling of immensity, a vastness so profound that it took my breath away, even though I didn't have lungs. When I finally managed to get my bearings, I realized that I was in space. Above and below me there were no more directions. Everything was just a sea of stars, distant planets and twinkling galaxies. Each point of light seemed to pulse with a life of its own, like hearts beating in perfect harmony. A feeling of wonder and smallness came over me. That was much bigger than anything I could understand, and yet, I felt safe. That's when I noticed something on the horizon. A light ship emerging from the void. She wasn't like the ones we see in science fiction movies, with cold metal and hard lines. This was organic, alive, as if it were made of pure energy. The surface emitted a soft light, changing between shades of blue, silver, and gold, like a calm and steady breath. As I watched her, I felt a familiar presence beside me. I looked, and there it was, the angel, shining as always, but now softer, almost transparent. He pointed to the ship, and the voice resounded inside me again, vibrating like an echo deep in my soul. "They come in peace, Sapphira. They always came in peace. Who are they?" My voice was a thought, but filled with urgency. Superior civilizations, older brothers. They have been watching Earth for thousands of years, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. That moment is near. I was enveloped by a wave of emotion, fear, curiosity, and, strangely, hope. I couldn't take my eyes off the ship, which now seemed to multiply. 1, 2, 3. Dozens of ships appeared around me, dancing in the cosmic void like fireflies on a warm night. The vision was of indescribable beauty, almost sacred. "When?" I asked, unable to contain the question. The angel looked back at me, and his response echoed like calm thunder. "December 20th. The words hit me with the weight of a prophecy. "Where? What will happen?" I insisted, feeling a cold run down what should have been my spine. "In the United States. The first revelation will occur there. It will be a moment of transformation, but also of choice." Humanity needs to be prepared. Sapphira, the light around the ships increased, and for an instant, I could see figures inside them, tall beings with ethereal contours that seemed to be made of the same energy as angels. His eyes, even from great distances, connected with mine. I felt an ancient, kindly intelligence, but also a seriousness that made me shudder. "Are they waiting for us?" I murmured, astonished. "They expect you to choose love, not fear, because fear will lead to destruction, but love will bring ascension." That sentence echoed within me, leaving me astonished. The love, always love. The angel touched my hand, or what amounted to it, and in an instant I was flooded with images. I saw forests burning, oceans turning dark, children crying, but I also saw something different. People united, hands reaching out to each other, praying, laughing, taking care of the planet like a mother takes care of her child. A clear choice was drawn before me: love or fear. Tell them, Sapphira, the message needs to be shared. Before I could respond, I felt a force pulling me back. The light began to close in, and the ships began to disappear into the distance. My heart, or what was left of it, desperately wanted to stay, but I knew that was impossible. The angel spoke one last time, his voice a whisper that carried all eternity. "Fear not, your mission has just begun." And, as if I had been pulled through a whirlpool, space fell apart around me. The peace and silence dissipated, replaced by something more intimate and painful, the weight of my life. When I opened my eyes again, I was no longer in space. She was being led towards something even more difficult to face, the review of my life. The sensation of being pulled back was abrupt, as if she were being ripped from a deep dream and thrown into a mirror from which she could not escape. Cosmic space dissolved around me, and suddenly I found myself in a completely different place. It was a vast space, but there were no walls, no ceiling, just a golden light that seemed to come from all sides. The ground beneath my feet was invisible, but I could feel something solid, like an energy field that supported my being. A deep calm mixed with apprehension came over me. I instinctively looked around, trying to understand where I was. It was then that an image appeared in front of me. It was like a three-dimensional screen that floated in the air, and on it, scenes from my life began to unfold. At first, they were gentle, simple, happy moments that had almost faded from my memory. I was 7 years old, running barefoot through the field behind my grandfather's house in Texas. The sun was low, painting the sky orange, and the smell of fresh hay filled the air. The laugh escaping me was light, free. I didn't remember being so happy. I had forgotten about that, I murmured, surprised to feel the warmth of that memory. But the scene changed, as quickly as it came. Suddenly, I was in my room, at 14 years, hearing my mother scream outside the door. The words were harsh, razor sharp. "You will never amount to anything. Never." I, sitting on the floor, with tears streaming down my face, held a book as if it could protect me. My heart hurt watching that. It felt so real that I had to remind myself it wasn't there anymore. The angel's voice echoed softly beside me. "We're not here to judge you, Sapphira, just to show you what you need to see." Before he could respond, the scenes continued. Happy moments, moments of pain, choices I made that affected those around me. But what hit me the most were the moments when I was indifferent. I saw myself passing by a homeless man. He was holding a sign saying, "God bless you," and all I did was turn away and quicken my pace. I remember feeling contempt that day, as if he wasn't worthy of my attention. Now, watching from the sidelines, I realized something I had ignored. He had blessed me quietly, smiling kindly while I ignored him. "Why am I seeing this?" I asked, feeling an overwhelming shame. Because every action, no matter how small it may seem, has an impact. You carried so much pain inside you that you couldn't see the beauty in other souls. More scenes appeared, one after another. I saw friends that I had pushed away, people who reached out when I needed them most, but who I rejected. I saw a college friend, Chloe, praying alone in a dark room, asking God to heal me from my depression. I never knew she had prayed for me. That vision was the worst. My throat closed, and I felt something like tears burning my soul. I didn't deserve these prayers. My voice came out shaky, but they were made anyway. Love does not require merit, Sapphira. It is given freely. The angel's words hit my heart like a balm and a blade at the same time. I shrank, feeling small in front of it all. Every mistake, every judgment, every missed opportunity was there, laid out before me. I wasn't perfect, far from it. What do I do with this? I asked softly, almost fearing the answer. Choose to see the beauty. Forgive yourself and forgive others. You came to Earth to learn love, and it is in every little action. When you return, your mission will be simple. Inspire others to choose love, even when it's easier to choose fear. The screen in front of me began to dissolve, and for a brief moment, I saw something that made my heart beat faster. People smiling, holding hands, living in harmony with nature and each other. It was as if I was being shown a glimpse of what could be if humanity chose love. It was at that moment that a new figure appeared before me, bringing warmth and an emotion that made me fall to my knees. My grandfather Emmett. Grandfather. His presence radiated love and calm, and his smile was the same one I remembered from childhood. He reached out his hand to me, and I took it, feeling enveloped by a sense of home. You have a choice, my girl. But before that, I need to remind you of something. And there, in that sacred moment, he showed me a new part of my journey. When Grandpa Emmett appeared before me, I felt as if time had stopped. He was exactly as I remembered. Tall, strong, with that silver hair that he said he carried like a crown, and brown eyes that seemed to see straight into my soul. His presence radiated an indescribable calm, as if just being by his side was enough to dispel any fear or sadness I carried. My girl. His voice sounded firm, but full of tenderness, like a hug for the soul. I fell to my knees before him, hands shaking. A silent cry escaped me, a mix of longing, love, and a peace I hadn't felt since childhood. Grandpa, how is it possible? Are you here? Am I dead? He smiled, that smile that always seemed to hold a secret. He knelt down beside me and cupped my face with his warm, strong hands. You're not dead, Saphira. Not completely, but I saw everything. My body, the doctors. I felt like I was out of my mind. He nodded slowly, with that wise look of someone who already understood everything life has to offer. Yes, you were away, but there is still something important that needs to be done. It's not your time yet. Tears were streaming down my face or what felt like my face. There, in that place, I was more spirit than body. There was no physical pain, but my heart ached at the thought of going back. I don't want to go back, Grandpa. It hurts so much there. My life, the things I've done, the people I've hurt. I don't want to carry this anymore. Here, with you, it's so good. He sat next to me, the golden field around us stretching as far as the eye could see. The sky above looked like an eternal sunset, painted in shades of gold, orange, and pink, as if eternity itself was resting there. Saphira, everyone carries pain. Every human being carries something that seems impossible to bear. But that doesn't mean you should give up. There is a purpose to your life, something you don't yet see. And love, my girl, will guide you there. Love? I whispered, my voice breaking. What do I know about love, Grandpa? I judged people. I hurt those who tried to help me. I walked away from everyone who loved me. I don't deserve any of this. He pulled me close, like he used to do when I was a child, and I would run crying into his arms. His warmth enveloped me, like a gentle fire that healed from the inside out. You deserve love as much as anyone else, because love is not something you earn, it is something you give, and giving love starts with yourself. His gaze fixed on mine, so deep that I felt as if he were searching every dark corner of my being. Remember what we used to say? About the trees and the flowers? The memory came, as clear as the sky above us. He used to take me to the field, point to the wildflowers that grew among the thorns, and say, even among thorns beauty grows, and you, Saphira, are one of those flowers. You just need to remember that. My shoulders shook with the weight of emotions. He took my hands and looked at me seriously. There is something important you need to do. When you return, you will carry a message, a truth that needs to be shared. About love, yes, but also about what he saw in space, about what's to come. Humanity needs to listen. I knew what he was talking about. The ships, the contact, the date, December 20th. They won't believe me, Grandpa. They'll think I'm crazy. He smiled again, his face firm and loving. It doesn't matter if they believe, Saphira. The seed will be planted, and those who need to hear will hear. I looked at him, desperate. And you? Can't I stay with you? He leaned over, kissed my forehead, and the tears fell again. One day, my girl, one day, but not now. Your mission has just begun. Before I could respond, I felt a force, the same one that had brought me there, pulling me back. The golden sky began to fade, and Grandpa's face became more distant, until he was just a silhouette in the light. Don't forget, Saphira, choose love, always. I screamed, trying to grab him, but he wasn't there anymore. The heat disappeared, and everything around me became empty and cold. I was being sucked back in, and this time, I knew where I was going. The force pulling me was incomprehensible, as if a cosmic magnet was dragging me to an unknown place. The golden light of the field began to fade, and the cold of the void took its place. My silent screams dissipated into an unanswered echo. I felt scared, for the first time since leaving my physical body. Suddenly, the movement stopped. There was no more sound, no light, no color, just an absolute void. A silence so deep it seemed alive, pulsing with invisible energy. For a moment, I feared I was alone, trapped in a place where time and space didn't exist. But then, something changed. One presence formed around me, indescribable in its magnitude. It had no form, no face, no voice, and yet, I knew exactly what it was. It was as if the very fabric of the universe had come to life, filling the void with a warmth that touched parts of me I didn't even know existed. Was God, not the God of ancient paintings, nor the one that many preach with fear and rigidity, but an infinite presence of unconditional love. The love was almost palpable, as if she could wrap her hands around him. It filled every cell of whatever I was at that moment. There was no judgment, there was no charge, there was no why. There was just an absolute acceptance of who I was. I am you, and you are part of me, whispered a voice inside me, although it wasn't exactly a voice. It was an understanding, a truth that transcended any human words. I dissolved into that presence. My identity, my fears, my pains, everything is gone. I was just to be, pure and connected to something so vast it made the cosmos seem small. For the first time in my life, I felt completely free. Free from the pain of childhood, from the guilt of my choices, from the doubts and hatred that I carried. There was no more weight. I was light. Is this heaven? I thought, or felt. The sky is just a reflection. I am love, and love is all there is. The answer came like a warm echo that filled my consciousness. As I surrendered to this presence, I was flooded with images that appeared like gentle waves. I saw the earth, blue and vibrant, covered in a luminous network. Each point of light represented a soul, connected to the others by invisible threads. You are all connected. What happens to one resonates with the whole. When you choose love, you heal not only yourself, but everyone around you. Those words hit home. I realized that my life, and everyone else's life, was like a drop in an ocean, separate on the surface, but deeply united underneath. Every time I chose fear, judged someone, or walked away from love, a crack formed in that luminous web. And every time someone chose love, she shined brighter. I was amazed and embarrassed at the same time. Why me? Why show me all this? I asked, almost without the courage to wait for an answer. Because you asked. Before he was born, he chose this mission. He forgot, as everyone forgets. But now you remember. What should I do? Just choose love. Teach love. The world is at a crucial moment. Soon, humanity will be challenged to evolve, to understand that it is not alone. Prepare them. A wave of understanding washed over me. I knew what I was talking about. What I had seen in space guide the ships, the beings of light. They were not a random vision. They were waiting. December 20th was real, and something monumental was about to happen. But what if they don't believe it? It's not up to you to decide who believes. You are just the messenger. Plant the seed. I was overcome by an emotion so deep that I had to surrender completely. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you. I'm never far away, Saphira. I am in every moment of love, in every act of kindness, in every breath of nature. I am the beginning and the end, and you will always find me where love dwells. The words enveloped me like a hug. The feeling of heat increased, and then I began to feel resistance. Something was pulling me, dragging me away from that presence. I didn't want to go. I mentally clung to love, trying to resist, but I knew it was useless. Come back, my daughter. Your mission has just begun. The light began to fade away. The infinite peace dissolved, replaced by the weight of reality, the sound of machines, human voices, and the cold of a body that was no longer familiar invaded my consciousness. Before opening my eyes, I heard one last message. Remember, love is all that matters. And then, I went pushed back. The return was brutal. The infinite peace that enveloped me disappeared as if someone had ripped a warm blanket off me, leaving me exposed to the cold of reality. The sensation was that of being sucked through a narrow, compressed tunnel, each movement carrying a sharp pain, as if I was being forced to fit into a body that no longer belonged to me. No, please no, I screamed mentally, desperate to stay in the place where everything made sense, where love was all that existed. But the voice that guided me there, soft, loving, and powerful, sounded one last time. Your mission awaits you. The world needs your voice. In an instant, I was pushed back, and everything around me became chaos. Sound, light, pain, everything came at the same time. She's coming back. We have signs. I heard someone scream. My vision was still blurry, but the hospital lights seemed like headlights stuck in my retinas. I blinked with effort, trying to adapt. The sound of the heart monitor next to me made a bip frantic, while voices in the background gave quick orders. Safira? Safira, can you hear me? A figure emerged from the blur in front of me, a man in a white coat, probably one of the doctors. His face was sweaty, exhausted, but there was a look of relief in his eyes. I tried to speak, but my throat felt like dry stone. Water. I managed to whisper, or at least I thought I had. A nurse leaned over, pressing a wet cotton swab to my chapped lips. The water, even minimal, seemed like a balm after crossing deserts. My mind was confused, trying to assimilate what had happened. The sounds of the hospital, the weight of my broken body. Everything seemed so small compared to what I had just experienced. I looked up at the ceiling, feeling a tear slip from the corner of my eye. The memory of the light, the angels, and the divine presence was so vivid within me that it was impossible to ignore. You were lucky, Safira, really lucky. The doctor's voice, Dr. Ethan Marlowe. It was a mix of skepticism and amazement. Your body suffered multiple spinal fractures, but, honestly, I don't know how you survived. He looked at the clipboard, frowning, as if trying to decipher a puzzle. The injuries were serious, but now, it's as if something has started to heal on its own. We still don't understand how. His words barely made sense at the time, but I knew one thing. The angels promised. They had said that I would walk again, and I no longer doubted it. Love is all that matters. Love is all that matters. The words of the divine presence echoed in my mind like a mantra, blocking out any other doubts or thoughts. Slowly, I moved my fingers. The sensation was like an electric shock, coursing through my broken body. A nurse noticed and her eyes widened. She wiggled her toes. Dr. Marlowe looked at me in disbelief. He tried to hide his astonishment with a restrained smile, but I could see that something inside him was deeply shaken. Safira, you're going to need a lot of physical therapy, but something tells me you're going to surprise us all. I closed my eyes for a moment, not out of exhaustion, but to hold tight to the truth that I knew, the truth that had been shown to me on the other side. I would walk again, and more than that, I would run, lying in that bed, surrounded by machines and people trying to understand the impossible. A decision was forming in my heart. I would go back, yes, but not as the same person. I carried a message. The world needed to know. About love, about angels, and, above all, about the December 20th. They need to know, I whispered to myself, so low I could barely hear, but I knew the time would come, the time to plant the seeds that were entrusted to me. In the days that followed, the hospital became my world, the rough bed sheets, the monitors that beeped at a constant rate, and the daily visits from doctors were the new reality I had to face. My body was still weak, weighed down by the fractures and immobility, but inside me, something had changed forever. I couldn't stop thinking about what I had seen and felt. The angels, the divine presence, the ships, and the message about the day December 20th. It was as if it was burned into my soul. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the golden light on the other side and heard the words echoing, "Love is all that matters." One day, as I was sitting in bed, watching the sunlight stream in through the window, a nurse named Claire entered the room. She was young, with a warm smile and kind gestures that always reminded me of the softness of the world I had left. "How are you today, Sapphira?" he asked, placing the lunch tray on the table next to me. "Better," I replied, trying to smile. My voice was still weak, but there was a determination in it that felt new, like it belonged to someone else. Claire arranged the pillows behind me and then sat in the armchair next to the bed. She looked at me curiously, almost as if she was waiting for me to say something. "You saw something there, didn't you? During the accident?" I remained motionless for a moment, the spoon resting on the plate. I didn't know how she noticed, but Claire seemed to see right through me. "What makes you say that?" "I've taken care of many patients with Sapphira. Some come back different. Their gaze changes, as if they had seen something that no one else had seen. And you have that look." I took a deep breath. The truth was trapped inside me like a secret too heavy to carry alone. I looked at her and, for the first time, the words began to come out. "I left my body, Claire. I saw the doctors operating on me. I saw angels around me, beings so beautiful and brilliant that words cannot describe. They were guiding the doctors." Claire didn't say anything. Her eyes widened slightly, but she didn't interrupt me. "And it wasn't just that." My voice shook. "I was taken to space. I saw ships, superior civilizations, and the angels told me something important. They told me that December 20th will be a milestone. Contact with these beings will happen, but we need to choose love over fear." The silence between us became heavy. Claire stared at me, as if trying to absorb every word. Finally, she took a deep breath and smiled softly. "You believe what you saw, don't you? More than anything else?" She nodded, and although she didn't say whether she believed it or not, I felt like I was no longer alone. As the weeks went by, my body began to miraculously recover. At first, the doctors believed that I would never walk again. But contrary to predictions, I managed to move my toes, then my ankles, and little by little, I began to take my first steps. Dr. Ethan Marlowe, the surgeon who had been with me since the accident, seemed perplexed every time he examined me. "Sapphira, you are a walking miracle. I've never seen anyone recover so quickly after such serious injuries. It's as if your body has received a boost that we can't explain." I knew exactly what he meant, but I just smiled. "Sometimes the answers are beyond what we can see, doctor." He frowned, as he always did when I made comments like that. But beneath the seriousness, I saw something different in his eyes, a doubt that planted a seed. When I finally returned home, I was no longer the same person. The Sapphira who had left that rainy night was no more. My pain and guilt hadn't gone away, but now I knew they could be healed by love. I walked slowly around the small apartment I rented near the university. The windows were open, and a cool breeze rustled the white curtains. I looked up at the blue sky, feeling a chill run across my skin. "The time is approaching," I muttered to myself, with my eyes fixed on the horizon. December 20th was approaching, and I knew I couldn't remain silent. The world needed to hear what I had seen. Even if no one believed, the seed would be planted. With this certainty, I sat down at the table, picked up a notebook and started writing. My hands were shaking, but my heart was steady. It was time to tell the world about light, love, angels, and the future that lay ahead. Today is December 17th, 3 days. Only 3 days separate me from what the angels and beings of light showed me. The December 20th, the date that has echoed in me like a silent drum since my near-death experience. Every beat of my heart seems to count down time, as if the entire universe is holding its breath along with me. Sitting at my living room table, I look out the window and watch the gray sky over Austin. There's a tension in the air, but it's not just the typical December chill. It's something deeper. I feel this. It's like a subtle vibration, a different energy that pulses through everything and everyone, but that most people still can't perceive. My computer is open in front of me, notifications blinking non-stop. In the last few days, the story I published began to spread much faster than I ever imagined. First, they were just little spiritual blogs. Then local journalists started looking for me. Now, there are messages from all over the country, people who believe, people who doubt, and those who attack me without even trying to understand. Crazy, charlatan, a lunatic looking for attention. These words appear in the most acidic comments, but they don't hurt me, no more, because I be what I saw, what I felt, and I don't need to prove anything to anyone. There are also messages of another nature. Some make me hold my breath. I dreamed of the same ships you described. The sky was full of lights. What is happening? My 7-year-old daughter says that the friends from heaven will be back soon. She never heard of your report. I don't know why, but since I read your words, something inside me has changed. It's like I need to prepare. These messages, even in the midst of doubts and ridicule, give me strength. The seeds are being planted, and that's what matters. I look at the clock. They are 11:47 a.m. The local journalist, Michael Hayes, will arrive at any moment. He is the skeptical but polite type. From his messages, I realized he wasn't just interested in my story. He wanted to understand. That was a start. There's something comforting about the sound of coffee bubbling in the pot as I arranged the cups on the table. I was never good at interviews. I have always preferred to observe life in silence, hidden in the shadows. But now, that is no longer an option. Your mission awaits you. My grandfather's voice echoes in my mind. The intercom rings, breaking my thoughts. My heart accelerates. Hello? Sapphira Wrenwood? Michael Hayes. You can go up. While I wait, I take a deep breath and look at the notes spread out on the table. My stories, dates, dreams I've had since the NDE, all the pieces of the puzzle I've tried to put together over the last few months. Minutes later, I hear a knock on the door. I open it and find a tall man with scruffy brown hair and a dark overcoat. He smiles politely and extends his hand. Sapphira, thank you for having me. Come in, Michael. Feel free. He observes his surroundings curiously as he takes off his coat and sits down. Your eyes fall to the papers on the table. So, is this where the magic happens? He jokes, trying to lighten the mood. I smile slightly. It's not magic. And truth. Do you want coffee? Please. Black. I pour the cups in silence. When I sit down, he opens his notebook and begins in a professional but calm tone. Sapphira, you said you received a message about December 20th, 3 days from today. Can you tell me again what you saw? How did you know? I take a deep breath and hold the cup with both hands, feeling the heat of the coffee run through my fingers. It all started with the accident. When I left my body, I was guided by angels to a space beyond our world. I saw ships, Michael, huge ships, made of light, with beings that radiated peace and wisdom. They showed me what's coming, and what's to come, he asks, more seriously now. The contact. The first step will be taken on December 20th in the United States. Superior civilizations will prove themselves, but that depends on us. They expect us to be ready, to choose love over fear. The choice we make will determine the future of humanity. He watches me for a long time, his pen resting on his notebook. Finally, it says, "This is big, very big. Do you have any idea what you're saying?" I know exactly what I'm saying. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm not here to convince anyone. My mission is to share the message, plant the seed. The choice is everyone's. He leans forward, his gaze softer now. What if nothing happens on the 20th? What if you're wrong? I smile, because that question no longer scares me. If nothing happens, the love will still have been shared. The world needs to hear this, Michael. Love is all that matters. And if they come, well, then we're in for the greatest awakening in human history. He nods slowly and looks at his watch. Time seems to slow down as he digests my words. You know this will move a lot of people, don't you? I know, but they have to choose. Love or fear. Michael closes his notebook and gets up. His expression is serious, but there's something in his eyes. A doubt, maybe even a small spark of hope. I will write about it. I can't promise everyone will understand, but I'll tell your story. Thanks, Michael. That's all I ask. He takes his coat and goes to the door, but before leaving, he looks at me one last time. You have courage, Sapphira. Whatever happens, I hope you're right. When the door closes, I return to the window. Outside, the sky is still gray, but something is different. 3 days. I feel it in the air. Something is coming, and the world will never be the same again. If you like this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment on your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.